Welcome to Concrete Block, the podcast where we dive into the latest news and current events that shape our world. I'm your host, Walter, and we're glad you're joining us today. As we begin this episode, we're taking a close look at the ongoing situation involving the United States, Russia, and Ukraine. Recent developments have brought to light a scheduled meeting between President Donald Trump and Russian leader Vladimir Putin, set to take place on Friday at Joint Base Elmendorf-Richardson in Anchorage. The primary topic of discussion is expected to be the war in Ukraine, which has been ongoing since early 2022. President Trump has expressed his intention to bring an end to the conflict, a promise he initially made before taking office. In preparation for this meeting, President Trump participated in a call with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky and European leaders on Wednesday morning. Notably, President Zelensky will not be included in the initial meeting with Putin, but President Trump has suggested that if the first discussion goes well, he would like to facilitate a follow-up meeting involving all parties. During a press conference at the Kennedy Center, President Trump was asked about his plans to convince Putin to stop targeting civilians in Ukraine. He responded by stating that he had already discussed this matter with the Russian leader and instead focused on his goal of ending the war, which he referred to as Biden's war. It's worth noting that the relationship between the United States and Russia has been complex, particularly given the historical context of their interactions during the 2016 presidential election. President Trump has previously denied any wrongdoing related to Russian involvement in the election, despite extensive investigations into the matter. As we move forward, it will be crucial to monitor the outcomes of these diplomatic efforts and their potential impact on global politics. We strive to provide a balanced view of the events unfolding, recognizing the intricacies and multiple perspectives involved. We'll continue to follow this story and bring you updates as more information becomes available. For now, we're going to take a short break. We'll be right back with more of today's top news on Concrete Block. Welcome back to Concrete Block. We're diving into a complex and multifaceted issue that's been making headlines lately. As we explore the situation in Gaza and the surrounding region, it's essential to consider various perspectives and factors at play. Recently, Israel announced a significant export deal with Egypt, valued at $35 billion, to supply natural gas from the Leviathan field to its neighbor. This agreement has sparked interesting discussions about the interplay between politics, energy, and regional dynamics. On one hand, this deal highlights the importance of energy cooperation in the Middle East, where countries are seeking reliable and affordable sources of power to drive their economies forward. Egypt's decision to import natural gas from Israel demonstrates a pragmatic approach to meeting its energy needs, despite the tense diplomatic situation between the two nations regarding Gaza. On the other hand, this development also underscores the challenges faced by the Palestinian people, who remain isolated in their region. The fact that Egypt has refused to accept Gaza refugees or allow more aid to flow into the area has significant humanitarian implications. It's crucial to acknowledge the complexities of this issue and the need for a comprehensive solution that addresses the concerns of all parties involved. As we examine this story, it's essential to recognize the centrality of energy in shaping regional relationships and priorities. The deal between Israel and Egypt serves as a reminder that economic interests can sometimes take precedence over political ideologies, at least in the short term. It's also worth noting that this development may have implications for other countries in the region, such as Lebanon, which is seeking to rebuild its economy and develop its own energy resources. As the situation continues to evolve, it will be interesting to see how these dynamics play out and what impact they may have on the broader Middle East. As we conclude this segment of Concrete Block, we encourage our listeners to consider the nuances of this issue and the various perspectives at play. It's a complex and multifaceted topic that requires careful analysis and thoughtful discussion. Stay tuned for our final story of the day, right here on Concrete Block. Welcome back to Concrete Block, folks. We've got a fascinating story to wrap up the show today, and it's all about international diplomacy and its potential impact on global markets. You might have heard that U.S. President Donald Trump is set to meet with Russian President Vladimir Putin in Alaska, marking a significant moment in their countries' relations. Now, some analysts are drawing parallels between this upcoming meeting and the historic summits between Ronald Reagan and Mikhail Gorbachev back in the 1980s. Those meetings paved the way for a new era of diplomacy and cooperation between the US and Russia, and many are hoping that this latest encounter will yield similar results. But what does this mean for the average person? Well, some experts believe that if diplomatic progress is made, it could lead to a renewed peace dividend, a term used to describe the economic benefits that come from reduced tensions and increased cooperation between nations. In 1985, following the first Reagan-Gorbachev meeting, the Dow and S&P 500 rallied by around 27% over the next 12 months. Of course, it's impossible to predict with certainty how markets will react this time around. But one thing is clear, this meeting has the potential to be a significant turning point in US-Russia relations. And as we've seen before, when global leaders come together to talk, it can have far-reaching consequences for economies and societies around the world. Now, I know some of you might be thinking, but what about the challenges? What about the disagreements and tensions that still exist between these two nations? And those are valid concerns. Diplomacy is never easy, and there are no guarantees of success. However, as we've seen throughout history, even small steps towards cooperation and understanding can have a profound impact on global stability and prosperity. So, let's keep a close eye on this developing story and see how it unfolds. That's all for today's Concrete Block. Remember to like, share, and subscribe, and until next time, stay informed.